Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
It is Christmas Eve.
Yep,
and we are recording podcast.
we are.
Which is good. I enjoy it. So I know that it's the holiday week. I don't know, as I become a business owner and self-manager of time, it feels like I'm supposed to take off this 2 weeks for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Like teachers do.
I had this conversation Friday. I was telling some of my friends, maybe Saturday, I went out with some of my friends, and I was like, I'm taking off. I'm working today, and I'm going to do like a half day on the 30th. But I was like, I am upset about it. Like I legitimately like what I do. I like working, and I'm going to miss working. But now, as I sit here today, and I see, and just you get the feeling, nobody wants to be working right now.
No.
Like, so, a lot of the work that I would do is just like, I don't want to do it. So, but I legitimately like working. So,
I've been trying to schedule like podcast guests for this show, the other show, and now I have a third show that's not sports related, but trying to get people to record in around this time, and you're like, well, the 27th is in during the holiday. Like, what's special about December 27th, except for it falls between December 25th and January?
Yeah, it's
really 31st. No one cares about New Year's Day. They just don't want to be bothered to not go to their New Year's Eve party. So I have that view of it sometimes too.
Yes.
Like, I need to get some of this stuff done. This day is not special, but I understand that it's during this time of like, I don't want to do stuff.
Right.
So,
yep.
It is what it is. The world is weird. Depends on how you look at perspective.
Well, the funny thing is now I remember when, in my 20s or whatever, these days we were off because I was a teacher, but we were just off. We were off, and it was like, what do we do now? Like, we didn't have anything to do. I mean, as I recall, in my 20s, all we did was we drank for 2 weeks. We didn't have there was nothing else to do.
That's right.
And now, ESPN has a bowl game on right now. I think it just started. Right, 11 a.m. the Myrtle Beach Bowl started. Which, if it was on Friday, I'd be there. I'll be in Myrtle Beach. But now there's bowl games on there, which might lead to more drinking. I don't know.
Back to my drinking,
because that part's different.
Is this the early 2000s?
But the world has adjusted to it to now. Now we have things to do during the time where we're not doing anything. So there's bowl games, and there's, shopping doesn't matter as much, right? We used to have to go to the mall or something. We don't have to do that now. I haven't been to the mall. We went to dinner Saturday night with my wife's family, and we not thinking, we picked out a restaurant here because they're from out of town. We picked out a restaurant, and it is at the only mall in Richmond, right? It's in Short Pump. And so we had to go to the mall and to this restaurant, and it was just awful. Awful. I just can't imagine it now.
Well, I stepped foot in a mall because my wife and her sister are still, I don't know. I don't know if that makes you old or young at heart to want to go to the mall. I don't know that anyone likes the mall anymore. There's no age group that's like, yeah, that's the age group that goes to the mall. Anyway, they went and bought something. She needed to return it. And it was like, I don't know how these places exist. Yeah. There's not enough people here for all these stores to be open.
Oh, if you go to one of the dead mall, one of the old, like, the indoor malls.
Yeah.
Dead. Yeah,
I went to the busiest place.
I went when I was in Marietta, back home. I went because, like, that was our hangout, right? I mean, that was when we went to Town Center Mall, and Town Center's a dead mall now. And it's like the most depressing thing in the world. You're like, this was the coolest place. This was like, you're walking around and you're like, this is where the electronics boutique was. That was like my happy place.
Yeah.
And now it's like, so we have one here. Regency Square Mall is a dead mall now. It was the cool mall when I was in college. We would come down to Regency, and it was the cool place. Now I go there because, number one, it's indoors and has like some play places, so like I can take my son if I have him, on a day where he just walk around, burn a whole energy. But they have a comic shop and a card shop, and so I will go there to walk around and see those things. But like it is, and it has. I mean, like the area isn't dead. Like there's a couple restaurants that are like very popular, but
People don't go in malls.
people don't go. But so Short Pump is an outdoor mall, and it has the things that people go. So there's a Dick's. I go for that. Like the Apple Store and stuff like that. Things that people actually go to are there. The upscale stuff is there. So we actually have two outdoor malls that are popular, I guess. But the old malls that used to be the cool malls are dead.
It's crazy how times are changing. Well, let's
You know what was cool?
What was cool?
The Sears the catalogs. I missed that.
So
Did you get catalogs?
Well, yeah, I don't remember. Yes, I think so.
That was so we would get the catalog Christmas time. The Sears catalog would come, and that was how I got my Christmas. I circled what I wanted. I circled everything that I wanted. And the funny thing is, everything was in one catalog.
Yeah, every category.
Video games, clothes, everything.
They were the Amazon of the time.
Yes, absolutely. I guess now you do a wish list. Is that what a kid would do?
I don't know. I asked my kid to write down, like, we had to go find a Walmart pamphlet thing about their Christmas so my son could see what was out there, because we don't buy TV, so there's no commercials in my house to tell my kid what he's supposed to like. So it's like
that.
Whatever he doesn't like. He was like, I don't know what I want for Christmas.
Perfect.
So it's pretty neat, because it's like the things when he finally says, I think I want that new Nintendo game. It's because he legitimately wants it. It's actually because he watched the videos on the Nintendo, the trailers.
He watched
so it's an advertisement.
Was like, so Nintendo tells him what he wants.
Yeah, he found his own advertisement. It's actually
my son is just old enough to know what Christmas is, but he hasn't been through a actual gift giving. I mean, he has, but he doesn't remember it, I guess. So, he got up on Santa's lap, and Santa said, he said, ho, 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 Merry Christmas, because he learned that's what Santa says. And Santa said, what do you want for Christmas? And he just looked at him. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he doesn't know about the present part of things yet.
Right.
So it was kind of funny. He's very excited. He loves watching, like, last night we watched Rudolph, the old, which, by the way, those are incredible. The old, like, 60s Rankin Bass, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and all those are incredible.
My son refused to watch them until they showed it to him at school, and this morning he actually woke up and was like, it's Christmas Eve. Let's go watch Rudolph.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we've turned it on yet, but he will.
So my son's at daycare today. He's got a day and a half of daycare. But yeah, he did. He learned Jingle Bells and a couple other Christmas songs at school. And then they did like a all the other holidays too. So he doesn't.
Your Sears catalog I watch a lot of MASH. That's our every night show. We watch MASH because I'm 80 at heart, I guess. But there's the episode A War for All Seasons, and that's what they do is they go through the Sears Roebuck catalog.
Sears and Roebuck, yes.
And order coats and parts for a kidney machine and a radio and a fake fireplace and baseball and gloves and scarecrow to put up a guard, like everything.
They legitimately had everything. We would get one catalog and we would sit there and go through it, and I would just circle everything that I wanted in there, and I was an only child, so it all showed up. So I mean, but I would get like a TV, an Atari, when I was 6, I got a TV and an Atari and whatever else, but I remember those things, like circling those, and they show up.
That's awesome. Well, let's pay some bills and talk quarterbacks.
Yeah, let's check out JDFB, JoeDanielFootball.com/system. We've got a free guide for how to build your ultimate defensive system. You're going to find out what is in a system, why you need a system, You're going to find out how to install your system and the 5 mistakes that you must avoid when you are installing your system. Go to joedanielfootball.com/system. There's me using system 12 times in a
I love it.
sentence.
I'm going to laugh about that every time.
Yeah.
System. Athletic Speed Movement is a speed training system. It is created by Del Basquette 47 some odd years ago when he was using it in the NFL to take a rookie running back and make him a 2-time All-Pro player his first 2 years in the league. Not to mention all the thousands of other kids he's helped break through their ceiling, reach new heights. It's a system that will help you elevate the speed, athleticism, the agility of every member of your football team. So if you're a gap scheme guy and you need your guards to quit looking like bowling, I don't know what they look like. I've seen some pretty bad pulling guards. This is a system for you. AthleticSpeedMovement.com. Sign up today. It is off-season football now. You have, what have we got? 2 weeks till everybody's back, and then they're going to have off-season football going. You might as well start with a speed training program. It perfectly fits in where you get your non-basketball, baseball guys. You get them through it, and then you get back and you get your basketball, baseball guys back.
I always like that period of time to experiment with things. Like, because, you're the guys that you have that are there in January and February, they're usually pretty committed guys, right?
Yeah.
And you can try things out and just, everybody knows, like, hey, a lot of our guys are in other sports right now, and you can try things out. So this is a great time to run, even like run the first 5 weeks of the speed training and just like figure it out. And then you could start over with everybody.
It's also where you have all your linemen in one place.
It's always, yeah. That's what I always love. I always loved when I was at Amelia. I tell you that, we started out, we had all freshmen, sophomore my first year. The entire offense had 10 freshmen, 5 freshmen, 5 sophomores, and a junior was our offense. We went 4-6. We weren't very good. And those next 2 years, it was January and February where I had the bulk of those linemen. And that's what took us from 4-6 to 10-2. It was not, yeah, by year 3, we had 30 guys in the weight room, 30 guys every day during the summer. But it was January with the 5 guys that would be our offensive line, or a bulk of them, and they're putting in work, and we could go out and we could experiment. We did speed training. We did everything with them. And, I always talk about the one of the guys. One of the guys is when I got there, I kind of like eyeballed him and was like, that's a guy like that. I like him. And they were like, Coach, he was a backup on JV last year as a freshman. And I was like, I don't know. I just looking around, and he's the best we got. And he ended up his sophomore year started offensive line. His junior year was all region defensive line. His senior year was all region offensive line, because I saved him because I knew we were going to the playoffs, so I didn't let him play much defensive line until playoff time. But he was all region offensive line, and then he played 4 years at a D3. And he wasn't great. I mean, he didn't even start, as a senior on his Division III school, but he was just a tough kid. And a lot of it was those January, February workouts, like just, working all year. It's a great time to put in work with those guys. Don't be upset if there's only 5 guys in your weight room. Bust your butt for those 5 guys.
Yeah.
Like, invest in them. They're invested in you. And when they have success, like I'm convinced that the reason we had 30 guys 2 years later was because they looked at him and were like, dude, he sucked. And now he's like all region. And so, like, I get guys, I hear guys say, like, our weight room, we've only got 5 guys. Or somebody asked a question, how do we change the culture? And it's not like that. It doesn't happen like that. It's you going into the weight room with 5 guys or 3 guys or whatever you got for an hour and a half, 3 days a week for a year, 2 years. You start out with 5. Maybe the next year you get 12. Maybe you get 7. I don't know. But like that's it. It takes work. There's not a flip a switch thing for it.
Yep. All great points. Athletic Speed Movement, do it. athleticspeedmovement.com. Go get it. Get started. Change your culture. Let's talk quarterback alignment. So I have grown up in this shotgun only. When I watch remember the Titans, I do think I'm the New York Jets offensive football. But the more I watch the game, and we watch the transfer portal tear apart college, and we watch the NFL quarterback play fall off, and I think it was Tom Brady that said something about this, but he just talked about how football's become so thin. Like you can't get complex. You can't go deep into football theory, and because you don't have people to develop, right? You can't develop a player long enough because they're going to leave your system and go somewhere else. So if you do make them really good and you spend that time and effort, they're still leaving. You just sent them with all this experience to your opponent.
I'm really interested. Of course, it'll be. I think this podcast will be out after. I'm really interested in Gunnar Stockton sitting the bench for 2 years at UGA, and now being the starter in his first game is at the Sugar Bowl, right? Is a playoff game. But I'm interested in how that goes because I think that is actually a benefit. We talked before we started recording about Bryce Young. I think that first of all, it's very impressive that I don't know if he's great, but he seems like he's the quarterback of the future for the Panthers. And he seemed like the worst quarterback in the NFL a year ago. By far, incapable of being an NFL quarterback. And getting benched, putting the work in, and now he looks like a good quarterback. And I look at, the funny thing is, as a Georgia fan, there's a lot of people, going, well, Gunnar Stockton's starting. Well, we came back with Gunnar Stockton and beat Texas. So let's not. But also, I'm a Georgia fan. We lost twice to the backup quarterback for Alabama. One of them was Tua. Jalen Hurts got hurt. Tua came in and beat us. And then Tua got hurt, and Jalen Hurts came in and beat us.
Yes.
So
same damn quarterbacks.
When you have a backup quarterback in the SEC at Alabama or Georgia who sits, that's anybody who sits. Stetson Bennett sat. Like anybody who sits at these schools, it's worth it, right? Carson Beck sat. He was better off. The further away he's gotten from sitting, the worse he's gotten. He needs to go back and sit. This is perfect time. Like, just go sit for a while. It'll be good again.
You can't build bad habits sitting on the sideline, right?
Yeah, just go sit. Just go sit for a while. That's what Jalen Hurts needed. He needed to go sit. Fields sat for a year at Georgia and then went and goes to that's a whole different thing. Kirby Smart's. It was Ohio State. Yeah, Kirby Smart's decision that Jake Fromm was the guy, not Fields was.
They lost Joe Burrow too, right? Didn't he go Georgia?
No, he left Ohio State to go to LSU.
Oh, okay. I thought he did.
No, we didn't lose. We didn't lose Joe Burrow. Okay, we lost Fields.
But we've hit a time where it's really hard to. Number one, I don't think coaches pass on that information as well. And I don't know if they ever did. But the day of sitting under a coach is also gone, right? Like, I'm watching this coaching carousel in my area. And we're going to talk about the Bixby staff because I think there's 10 or 12 coaches there that have been there no less than 10 years together. Like, they have kept that thing together. Right. Everywhere else, it's turnover, whether it's because head coaches leave, people are committed to a coach, but number one, no one's going 10 of 11 state championships either. So
no.
Right? Like, that's hard to do. So it's hard to develop coaches, and it's hard to develop kids in this high turnover world. We're dealing with the transfer portal in Oklahoma right now in high school ball, where kids are kind of just flip-flopping wherever they want to go. I'm saying all that to say, I have grown up in a world of shotgun-only football. You don't go under center. The kids don't like it, so why put it in? But for some reason, I was watching ball this weekend or last weekend, whatever it was, and I had this epiphany of like, everything that you've said. Like, man, the play action hits so hard.
Oh, so much better
when you go under center. Talk about quarterback sneak. What if you don't have to snap the ball 5 yards deep to run the ball 1 yard? You know what I mean? Why go -5 to have to run 6 to get a yard? So there's a lot to be said for getting these under center. And I don't know about pistol necessarily. Like the way that I run pistol is just shotgun with the tailback lined up behind him.
right.
It's not the what is the old school pistols like quarterback toes it for. We're gonna talk about all this. We're gonna talk about what the difference is in all these. So we won't get too much into it. But anyway, I want to know the advantages and disadvantages. That's what this podcast is for today, is just talk about these alignments we can use for our quarterbacks, why we need to go ahead and coach them. Doesn't matter who you're sending these kids off to college or whatever. None of that matters. But just so you have more tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
So let's jump in. First question is just like, what are the different alignments? What makes them different from each other, and kind of advantages? And well, we'll talk advantages, disadvantages next. So let's just talk about the bases. So under center versus shotgun versus pistol. I think that's it. I don't know. There could be more.
So I think one of the big things is these are not offenses, and I will hear relatively inexperienced coaches, sometimes fans will say things like this, but
sometimes the fans.
We run a shotgun offense. No, you don't. We run a pistol offense. No, you don't. That's not a thing. That's a quarterback alignment. It's no different than running, a running back at 5 yards, 7 yards, like offset. Like, it's an alignment. You don't run a shotgun offense, because what you run, one of the coaches that we had on this past week, I think it might have been Brandon, said that, in his first year, he showed his playbook to someone, and they said, well, where's the lineman? What are the linemen doing? Something like that. That's where a lot of coaches start, is they've got, here's the quarterback. It's like, no. Your offense is not where the quarterback stands. Your offense is what the offensive line does.
Right.
That's your offense. Everything else is built around that. And so when we talk about pistol, shotgun, under center, that's great. It's a tool for timing. It's a tool for ball control. It's a tool for, vision of the quarterback, comfort of the quarterback. It's not your offense. So the three things we have are under center, pistol, and gun. And like you mentioned, pistol can mean different things. But under center, obviously, kids are weird about that because, especially in the off season, the center usually doesn't have a supportive underwear on. And we go under center, and you got to put them hands up in there. I mean, you got to get to know him. Like, that's your guy. And
checking for a hernia while you're at it.
Yeah, you got to check him out. And you got to put pressure. I mean, that's probably the biggest issue with under center snaps is you've got to get the hands up in there, and you've got to put pressure. Bottom hand is putting pressure on the top hand, because the center's going to move, right? As he snaps the ball, he's got to be stepping. He can't snap and then step. And so the center is going to move. So if you don't have pressure with that bottom hand, when the center moves, your hand separates, and we have a ball control issue.
Right.
And so they don't like that. But it is interesting because we had a couple of years where we had centers, we had quarterback. My first year at the school we're at now, we had a quarterback who had never taken a snap under center. And in fact, if we wanted a quarterback sneak, we had a kid who came from a different school. He was our H-back. We would motion him in. We would motion him in, and he would put his hand under center, set go. And that was how we quarterback sneak, because our starting quarterback just couldn't take a snap under center. He'd never done it. And it was like, we didn't get hired till June, and it was COVID, and so we didn't have time to fix this.
Right.
So you deal with what you got. He could take a snap and run sneak. The year before that, at Amelia, had a quarterback who was under center all the time, and you mentioned quarterback sneak. We were 4 yards of play. I would quarterback sneak on a 3rd and 3, and we would get it every single time. So under center, pistol is. I do pistol like you. I do pistol at 4.5. I do both at 4.5 yards. Heels at 4.5. And I do pistol and gun, and it's just whether the back is offset or the back is straight behind. Other people do pistol at like 3 yards. I don't like it because that ball's getting there fast. I don't like that.
I've seen that more with like FlexBone teams that
It's
are
more
trying
FlexBone. Right.
to hybridize and get out from under center so the kids
Pistol
can see.
FlexBone, yes. Yep. And then gun is, offset back. So each one has their advantages. And we can talk about why, I guess, move into that. But each one has their advantages, and that's why each one has a reason that you would use it. We use all three. We use every single one of them. We'll use every single one of them in a game. Sometimes it's quarterback comfort. Like really, I don't care. Our quarterback had a severely sprained ankle. Missed a game, but when he came back, he was really hobbled with it. And this, by the way, he was our base package quarterback, but he was also our jet sweep guy in the jet package. So like him being sprained ankle was not good. So in order to take mileage off of him, we did everything from pistol and gun because just the steps away from the center. But he ran the offense from under center most of the time. But I didn't change anything on the we used the Ruski system, right? We had to add wells on. So I didn't change the quarterback alignment on those cards. And I just told him, you line up where you need to. Make sure our center's Moo. Make sure Moo knows. That's the only thing that could go wrong. If he thinks he's waiting for your hands to get in there and they're not there, he's gonna wonder where you are. Like 2 a.m. Why is my wife not home? Type of thing.
Oh.
That's that didn't actually happen to me, by the way. He wants wants to snuggle. Let's get you in there. So tell him if you're not going to be home. But that was just comfort for him, But it hurt our play. I mean, it definitely hurt our play action game. So the advantages to me, and I'd like to know what you see. Under center, much better run game timing. Much better run game timing because it's feet. There's no center snap. The center snap is I had one center who was phenomenal. We had very, very few snap issues this year, but I had one center who was absolutely phenomenal, almost 100%. But most of the time, I've had an issue with center snaps. And so the timing under center is better. In the passing game too, and that was one of the things we committed to this year, is we were going to throw a 3-step drop. And the timing, the ball is out so much faster on a 3-step hitch. It just is. You're sitting there trying to get him to catch, boom, throw. We worked on that so much for so long, for a decade. I've been working on getting kids to catch and throw, catch and throw, catch and throw. And I've had maybe a handful of quarterbacks. I had one quarterback who I thought really, really got it. I mean, really, really, boom, catch, throw, ball out before that kid turned around on a hitch. But when we went under center and just said, screw it, we are going to throw 3-step from under center, immediately fix that problem. 1, 2, 3, bam, ball out. It's just so much better. So timing is better and play action is better under center. Pistol is a hybrid. It's got better downhill run, but a lot of quarterbacks like the vision being 4 or 5 yards off the ball, being 4 or 5 yards away from those bad guys coming at them, being able to see everything, being able to see the field. A lot of quarterbacks like that vision. And so I've had quarterbacks who they're just more comfortable throwing from that situation, unless they're on the move, and play action solves that.
Right.
And then gun, you can read in pistol. Obviously, you can read things in under center if you're a split back veer team, but that takes a lot. Like, that has to be your offense, right? I mean, it's such a fast read, and if you can do it, it's great. But gun opens up a lot of things with the back's movement across the formation. The quarterback can now read the backside. Because in pistol, you can read, but you're reading the front side. So you're reading the side that the back goes to.
Because you have to turn your back.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But when you go to gun, that opens up your RPO game. That opens up your read, your zone read, your all of those things. Even jet jet reads and things like that you can do. It opens up a lot of the read game, which is, I mean, significant. Like if you want to read, if you want to read and be an option team, and you don't want to be an under center split back veer team, like that style of option, your FlexBone, whatever. If you want to do that, you want to go under center, and you have to want to do that. Like, don't screw around, don't dabble in it. If you want to do that, you're going to do that. If you have veer option as a play in your playbook, and you don't tell people we run veer, then you're making a mistake. Right. If you have it in your playbook, you should be a veer team, and you should be under center, and you should be running that 50% or more of the time, because we talk about an offensive playbook. What does an offensive playbook need? It needs an inside run, an outside run, an off tackle run, and a counter. Well, veer has an inside run, an outside run, and a off tackle run, right? So the dive, quarterback, the pitch. So all you need is a counter. So half of your offense should be that play. If you do that and you're under center, great. If you don't read, it's not that I don't like reading. I love blocking power, and I love blocking zone. I love blocking stretch, and I like to be under center, and I like to run those plays. And so the read is never intentionally going to be a feature part of our offense. That said, we run a ton of zone read. But I love getting under center and running downhill. I'll tell you another one. We ran jet sweep this year, and we ran Mercer's offense. So it's on. We got it from what's that?
Coach Tube?
Nope, not Coach Tube.
Oh, Throw Deep Publishing.
Throw Deep. Yep. Alex Kirby. Yes. It's on there. Get it.
Is it the same as the Pistol Power offense?
No. My head coach forced me to put this in. I didn't want to do it. But we did. And I can tell you right now, I will never. I'll do it just for the eye control of the defense, jet from gun or pistol. But when you run jet sweep under, now harder to run. It took a lot of work. We had one quarterback, and that's all he did, right? That was his job, because we wanted the other two quarterbacks being the jet guys,
right?
So that's where we put the sophomore, and that's all he did was hand ball off to him. But I can tell you right now, that play was amazing. You literally do not have to block anybody from the B gap back. We would not block the B gap.
And this is out of gun or under center?
Under center. If you want to run jet sweep, go find old school wing T jet sweep guys. First of all, just go to Throw Deep and get Mercer stuff. It's all you need. That's all you need. Now I'm gonna harass Kenny because we need to fix some other things, and I'm gonna need Kenny for that. But I loved it. I loved under center jet sweep. Awesome. We need a better look at the counters off of it. But awesome. So under center has so many advantages that are being lost. This is going to change the name of this podcast to why you should be under center and stop doing all this dumb crap. Under center.
You sound like an O-line coach.
Under center is so much better. Yeah, because every center I've ever had is like, coach, please get that quarterback's hands up in there. I will tell you that it is just, and I mean, there's so many things. Cadence, drawing people off sides. When you put your hands up under center, people think it's go time, right?
Right.
You're a lot more likely to get the defensive line to jump. So when you do your no plays and your hard counts and stuff, do it from under center. Add in a motion, add in a shift, and hard count. So hard count, motion, shift, hard count. Defensive linemen get even dumber when you go under center, because everybody thinks it's go time right now. Especially like it's 3rd and 1. It's 3rd and 1, right? You want to hard count them or you want to sneak? Well, what are they thinking? Sneak or hard count? They got to guess. And if they guess wrong, first down, right? If they think hard count, the sneak works. If they think sneak, the hard count works.
I like it.
I mean, there's so many. We just stop. Eliminate. Make it illegal. Just make it illegal. No more gun. Everybody needs to go under center. Listen, you don't like it. I know you don't like it.
There's just
I'm just like in the last 5 minutes.
we talk about all the
myself
benefits
that we
of the
should
gun
not
and
do
the
anything
pistol
other than
before we
under
just
center.
shat all upon it. The advantage
unless you want to throw the ball or read. Either one of those, you need to go gun or pistol.
There you go.
But if you just want to run the ball and just demoralize the teams you're playing against, you need to go under center. And here's the other thing. You're going to tell me, this is what you're going to tell me. Not you, but the guy that's listening. Yeah, but our offensive line. No, buddy. You should have seen my offensive line in August, okay? Not a single returning start. Well, one returning starter, okay? They learned to block. They learned to – it was like week 9, but we finally were able to run power. It was a beautiful thing. That was beautiful.
Week 9, running power. I love it.
It's week 8, actually.
I'll tell you something that I identified as a weakness of – so we were big gap scheme this year. Power, GT, GH counter, super duper counter, a bunch of fun stuff. But we have a habit of our running backs bouncing outside the kick. And so I can see if you were under center,
he's downhill.
He can't bounce the kick because he's getting the ball behind whoever the last puller is, tackle, guard, H-back, whatever, right? Like, it's for him to bounce it, the angle would be terrible. He was going to have to like run behind this cat and then purposely go around.
We were running out of gun or pistol?
We technically pistol, but we were at 5 yards every time. So
no, but it's still the angle of the back.
Right.
So gun would be even harder.
Right.
But pistol, it's kind of
we counterstep base, our base stuff. Of course, we have to have breakers, but we counterstep all of our gap schemes. So they're going to go away from the play and to come back behind those guys, but they're still getting the ball. The mesh point is still at 4 yards.
Right, correct.
Where under center, I've got to turn and step back maybe you're getting it 2.5 or 3 yards. It's just less space for the running back to make dumb decisions.
And your biggest plays in gap schemes, power especially, but counter too. This was what I had to really like get on our quarterbacks. Our quarterbacks were opening, so we would counter step. It's one of those things where like I was trying to fix our offensive line for 8 weeks, and so once I got our offensive line fixed, I was like, oh crap, now I got to go fix. It's leverage, right? It's like, well, what's the problem right now? Well, the problem right now was the offensive line for most of the season, and then once they started blocking it right, it was like, okay, now we got to start the back. So the quarterbacks were pivoting on the play side foot. And what that did was it pushed it an extra yard wider, and so I had to get our quarterbacks pivoting on the backside foot because we reverse pivot out.
Right.
And so we had the quarterbacks reverse pivoting out. And so what I did was I changed it to a midline, so that they would be aiming at the hip of the center. The normal aiming point for us is the inside hip of the guard.
For your gap scheme stuff.
For gap scheme. And that is for, if you have a 3 tech, I expect us to slam that guy down. And to end up coming off of the hip of the tackle, but it'd be right at the guard. If you have a nose, we're going to run more counter. Counter's a white, we talk about red and white side plays in our pistol power offense system. Counter is a white side play. Well, counter, we're going to run not to the tight end side, right? So it's going to be a much tighter hitting play. If you push counter wide, we will get tackled by
a force player, essentially. Right.
Yeah, right, exactly. So so let's say we played one of those 5-2 teams, right? So they've got a 4 tech and then they've got a 9 tech. We're going to kick the 4. If you push the back wide, the 9 will make the tackle. And it won't matter how good a kick we have on the 4 because we're not blocking the 4. We're not blocking the 9. We're kicking the 4. So if we push the counter wide, everybody gets mad. Who's supposed to block him? It's always the running backs coach, right? The running backs coach is like, who's supposed to block him?
I know that I went outside the
freaking quarterback is. Fix him. The running back is. Fix him. This is an A-gap run play. This is not a C-gap run play. So we have to fix that.
At Owasso last year, I noticed, and I don't know that it wasn't by a little bit by design because it hit sometimes, but they were a one back power team, right? So you may
That's a
call it.
stupid play.
Um,
Works fine for Owasso, but
man, there's another name people call it.
it's one back. It's not
Wrap. People call it wrap. People call it one back power or whatever.
That's a dumb name.
Dart. Like there's different names.
Well, dart's a tackle pull.
Right. Well, we did both. There was
Okay.
a rule.
All right.
Right. Are you gonna try
Gotcha.
to reach a 4-eye? No, just kick him out with your guard and pull the tackle.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of times, and they were all gun. There was no pistol, so he
Right.
always was in sidecar. And they a lot of times would hit the backside A gap. So it's like we've downed all these people. We've created this hole on the front side. We've wrapped to that hole, but for whatever reason, maybe people are just overplaying it because of the wrapper.
Right.
Backside A gap would open up. So I can see, like, if you're under center, you take that option off the table. And sometimes it hit for, 70-yard touchdowns and stuff, right? There's no one there anymore. That backer has pulled across to the front side. The other one had to slam a hole because he got a down block. And so A gap just opens up. So, I can see if you go under center,
if you run one back power becomes more of almost a zone-ish play.
Right.
With a puller. So it's a little bit different look than your traditional power.
Right. So the A gap cutback is
right. Yeah. So like we run a dart version. We call it 24-25 OT. It's tackle over, tackle out. So the tackle on the call side, it's a one back power type of play. The tackle on the call side will turn out his end instead of down blocking, and then we will wrap to the linebacker. But we run it as a draw to give the tackle. So we boom, and then hand it off, which has been a great play for us. We usually don't put it in early. We put it in late. But in fact, in this discussion, back to the quarterback alignment, in 2017, we ran 100% of the time we were in gun, we threw the ball for the first 10 weeks, 9 weeks, no, 10. Yeah. 100% of the time we were in gun, we threw the ball. And when we were under center, and in fact, we didn't run pistol that year. When we were under center, we ran the ball like 90% of the time. The rest, we did some play action. We did our play actions under center, and we did our run game under center, and we threw the ball from gun. And by the way, we threw for 2,000 yards and ran for 2,000 yards. So it's not like when we were legit 50%, like, we played Goochland week 10, and Goochland hadn't lost a district game in 10 years. So
they're kind of good.
They were kind of good. We played them in week 10, and then we played them the second round of the playoffs. And so the second round of the playoffs, we put that OT play in, that draw play in from gun. That was the first time that we ran the ball from gun. The only reason we did it was because we knew that they were disciplined and studied and would pick up on that, right? Nobody else did. I mean, everybody else just kind of like, maybe they did. I don't know. It didn't matter. And so we ran that play in gun, and they were a 3-3 stack team, and the linebackers would fly out on the snap, and we ran for 165 yards on that play. And we lost. We lost. It was 20-19 at half. We drove all the way down the field. On the 1-yard line, we threw a slant that went through a receiver's body. I don't even know how it happened. It went through his body into the hands of a linebacker who ran it all the way back.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And it was on from there. And I didn't throw a slant for 4 or 5 years. I didn't throw a slant. I didn't call a slant play for at least 5 years. Took it out of the playbook entirely.
That's
traumatic. Traumatic. That was from gun, by the way. Threw that slant. That was gun. We've been under center. That was the same quarterback that could get 4 yards on any sneak from anywhere. And we threw a slant from gun. We go under center, just call it sneak. We're having a different conversation.
When you start looking,
this was not a good way to start my holidays. Now I'm upset. I'm mad that people are running gun.
And Christmas, I'm putting under center into my playbook. How about that?
Into
my system.
Good. I'm upset about a game we lost 7 years ago. And then Tim Murphy goes and runs shotgun double wing. What are we doing?
Hybridizing.
It's double wing.
Hybridizing.
You get under center and you absolutely demoralize people.
Now
You're in double
gatekeeping the
wing.
term gatekeeper.
No, I am. Who's the school? De La Salle? Didn't they win like 1,000 games in a row, just demoralizing people under center?
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. So why is it? It's not good enough for you, though, huh? Okay.
You sound like every dinosaur coach on earth right now.
I'm getting so old so fast.
When I tell people I hate FlexBone, guys, I hate it. I've had zero good experience with it. I know it can do some good things. I know Harding University just won the national championship last year using, but they also didn't win it this year. You know what I mean? Like,
do you know?
Everyone tells me coaches, those dinosaur coaches, like, oh, I said, coach, kids don't have fun in FlexBone. Well, they don't have fun winning championships, huh? They don't have fun winning games.
I don't believe that at all. I really don't. I think kids will run whatever you want them to run. I just don't buy that.
I would say my experience is the opposite. And one, because I grew up in a wing tee and hated it. But we sat on a staff this year where we took a team from FlexBone for like the last 11 years to this modernized single wing, if you want to call it that, right? We're going to use some pro sets, some single wing sets out of the pistol / shotgun look. And there's a coach on staff who played last year and was like, Jesus Christ, I wish I had this offense. This is so much fun.
You can make anything fun.
Even the left tackle, who all he did was gap scheme and zone scheme and a little pass pro, but when you start going tackle over, you start mixing stuff up.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with, you can do that in a FlexBone.
I understand.
I mean,
I
agree. You need to have variety in your offense, but I don't think that if the core is a wing tee or if the core is, I mean, like our jet sweep package, like our kids loved that package, but it was an under center, old school, tight end, 2 wings. I mean, it was 31 personnel. Like, it's an old school wing tee offense.
Right.
Wing tee, red and blue, jet sweep. And then so the feature was the jet sweep, but all the plays we ran off of it were just, old school power counter type stuff. Fair State.
They won
the national title,
right?
They won the national. They beat Valdosta State. Now they don't run it anymore, but I watched Tony Anise score 77 points in the Muskie Gun FlexBone offense. I watched it from the sidelines on the other side. I mean, they ran 5 plays. I knew what they were running. I watched so much. This was when he was at Grand Rapids Junior College, and I watched so much of that film, and I hand broke it down, right? Because I had time in the mornings. I would get up at 5 a.m., go to the office, and take a shower because I lived on the hall with the players. So I didn't, communal shower was not for me. We had a shower in the office. So I go to the office, take a shower, and I hand padded. I knew exactly what they were going to run. And to this day, I mean, I could tell you the whole playbook. It was the triple option. They had a sweep. They had a dive. They had a counter. They had a hitch. I think maybe there's a play action, right? There was a toss. But there's five base plays, right? And we did the dumbest thing on the planet on our defense. I mean, talk about it. We knew it was dumb. Ricky Kuhn, who is the defensive coordinator at Southeast Missouri, he was defensive coordinator, and I was the linebackers coach, and our head coach said, "This is what we're going to do," and we were both like,
"Don't do it,
don't do it." But we did it. The offensive guy, he's a great offensive coach. We had the number 1 offense in the country, but he probably should have stayed on the offensive side that game because we scored 56, but we gave up 77. And it was a beautiful offense. I think they were pistol FlexBone. I want to say they were pistol FlexBone.
Yeah. I think where the game is going with, I know RPOs have kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, and I think they'll come back, but just reading wider guys. Like, I mean, even at my heart, as much as I don't like the FlexBone, I still can admit that reading a dude and making him wrong is high school football. As soon as I can play 11 on 10,
Right.
that I have the advantage, and there is no problem with that. I love that. I think that we talked about to start this episode, like that deep dive into teaching and developing kids, being able to read 11 kids on the defense and make them wrong that should be high school football. Now, if you can't get them there, maybe that's not your ceiling is just a little lower than that. But I think where the game was headed, or it was the last couple of years. The NFL went back to a phone booth this year. But I think the RPO game, reading those force players, making people wrong, you just can't do that. Even out of pistol. You said a while ago, you can read one side in pistol, but when you get into the who's the head coach over at Northern Alabama this year? Great offensive mind. I've tried to get him on the podcast.
Oh, he's been on the podcast.
You said he had been once. That's right. Anyway, his pre-snap reading 4 RPOs, post-snap reading 2 to 3 RPO. Like, you can't do that from under center.
No.
So I think it depends on, once again, you talk about your offense should fit your kids. There's something to be said about maybe your kids can't run wing T or FlexBone or double wing, right? You just don't have those bodies to go do that. I think Ron Mackey came on here and said, like, if your offensive line is terrible, so your idea is, hey, I'm going to be a dinosaur and go get in the FlexBone, why wouldn't you go to spread? Why wouldn't you just take them out of the equation, right? Like, and so there is something to that. And so I think that's part, that's where Gunn, it obviously has grown. It's either easier to coach or easier to learn for players. There's something about it because everyone's doing it. So it's the masses generally are going to go the path of least resistance, right? Doesn't mean I'm always right, but there is something to it for sure.
There's something to look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite.
For sure.
I'm a dinosaur, and I'm such an offensive line guy. And in my head the whole time, I'm like, why don't you just learn to coach the offensive line? Why don't you fix them? Like, I agree. If they're not good, make the problem go away. Like, look, the jet sweep stuff I've been talking about. What does the jet sweep stuff do? It essentially makes us only needed a right tackle. I need somebody to get the ball to the quarterback, and then it goes back to when I say fix the offensive line. I think one of the problems is, and I'll tell you what I think what I think the NFL has done, and I think the NFL is on the right track. This is what I think they've done. I don't coach in the NFL, and I don't talk to NFL coaches, and I don't know. I just I watch it.
Right.
Like you said, it's more condensed now. Watch an NFL play. There will be multiple shifts and motions on every play. So what they are doing, they are not reading post-snap. They are making you show your hand pre-snap, which makes it easier. So by running these condensed formations, by running shifts, motions, I make you tell me what you're going to do. And then the quarterbacks, the high-level quarterbacks, we talked about it before. Josh Allen's on a incredibly high level, running the offense. And he can then make a call, make a check, make a tag, whatever, and run the play. He doesn't have to stick the ball into the belly of a running back and see what you do. He figured it out before he snapped the ball, what you're going to do. And then when the ball is snapped, it's just execute. And so that's where, that to me is the next level of RPO. And I think it's even easier at high school because defenses don't disguise as well. So
and there's not as many calls.
Not as many calls. There's not as many. Yeah, they're not doing as much stuff. But you watch an NFL defense. I mean, they run cover 3, cover 1, or they run cover 2, cover quarters. Like, it's not their coverage package is no different than what we do. Well, it's like when we had Dominique Franks on the podcast. And what's an NFL call? 1 or 3, right? I mean, that's what he said, right? Then there's a ton of checks and all that stuff, but there's only 2 coverages, right? And I mean, some teams are 3 and 1, some teams are quarters, some teams are, but like basically the call would be 1 or 3. It wasn't like I hear guys talk about, we've got 27 coverage checks, No, in the NFL they have 2 coverages. Or whatever, their package will have 3 and 1 or quarters and 1 or whatever. And then it changes based on all the different alignments and formations and all the things. If you're a offensive coach in the NFL, you go, okay, well, I'm going to make you make all those checks, and I'm going to make you show your hand. Well, no. What we're playing against is teams that literally run cover 1 or cover 3, and they show cover 1 or cover 3. And so we can identify that pre-snap, and then we can beat it. And some guys are going, well, no, we run quarters. It's like, it's the same thing. If you run quarters, it's even easier.
Right.
Like, quite honestly, it's even easier because quarters takes a lot of work. Either your pattern match is going to be broken because you don't work on it enough, or it's all that you do. And you might have a couple different checks out of it, but we can identify that. I go to trips and you have to check. Right? You have to check.
I think there's a lot to be that people don't utilize with the pre-snap movement. Is like the DC called one thing and then has some checks. So if I make you check, I've taken the power away from your DC.
You have, right.
Right. And now who cares if you called the perfect blitz for third and forever? You just checked out of it. So appreciate you.
And how many defensive coordinators use the TCU used when Gary Patterson 3 calls. So
Alabama. I looked at Saban stuff recently, and he had.
So there's a trip.
He made a call for every formation.
Like, there's a trips call right attached to it. So the end of the call would be solo, or so ours roll, solo, whatever. So we would tag roll or solo or special. So roll, solo, or special, and the call would have 3 calls. So it would have the two side, the strong side, the away side, and trips. So there's 3 calls in there. So it would be 2 blue solo. Not many coaches do that. I don't do that. You motion to trips, we check roll. Because my guys are in high school, and all I want them to do is make sure that they at least check something. And so in the frustration of that, check roll. Yeah. At least I get them used to saying roll. Or, in a game plan thing, we might do something like this year. We checked to what would essentially be special. We checked to we call it red. We checked that trips, but we changed it game to game. But every game we had a trips call, right? I mean, this is what we're going to do against trips. So if you can force them to, if you can figure out what that is, motioning to trips, they'll identify it. And here's what they don't work on. They don't work on checking your trips and then checking back out of it.
Right.
So you line up in doubles, you motion the guy across, you motion him back. They suck at that, right? They all suck at that. And if we want to get back to the actual topic, it's easier to do all this from gun.
Right. So last piece here, how can we use these? So we talked earlier, this is not an offense, right? It's just quarterback's alignment.
Yeah.
And so when we start trying to use these different alignments, how do we get that into our offense? And I think that some people may try to put in, if you just look at old school, like pro twins, which everyone calls that things different. So I'm trying to think of the most old school way to call it, but just tight end, open, and twins to the backside, right? You can name that formation whatever you want. Call it Mario, okay? And then you can tag this quarterback alignment or attach it to the run game, right? If I'm trying to hit wide, you talked about earlier, we were 100 for 100 for, if we were in gun, we're going to throw it. There's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, sometimes I'm okay with those tendencies. Just if I'm really good,
one thing that goes off of it, it's fine.
That's right. So you could just do all your wide zone is out of under center or whatever you need to do. I think tagging is probably the best.
Toss, by the way, is so much better under center. That's another one
for sure.
Toss
it looks even weird.
You do that. Georgia runs it a lot. The underhand shovel toss.
Yeah,
and they'll do it to like a bunch formation, and it works. But partly it works because they're Georgia, right? Like, I don't know that would work. We did a little bit, and it was okay. But that, man, toss from under center is just so much better.
Right. So what are other ways that we can kind of tag? Can we put all these into our offense? Is it Is there other ways besides just tagging it?
I mean, I just usually tag it on the formation. Now it's the picture, right? Whatever the picture says. And then our offensive linemen have a card, and the offensive line card will just say gun or under or whatever on it. But like I said, I will let once our quarterback knows what he's doing. So like at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't let our base quarterback do this. But by the end of the year, I would. Just do what feels comfortable. What feels right now. What do you like running? What makes you comfortable? What do you like doing? Now you got to have a kid who is. When I say what do you like doing, it has to be because he thinks it's better, not because he thinks it's easier or he just don't want to stick his hands under the center or whatever. So like you got to know your kid. Like I know my quarterback is a winner and a tough kid, and he's going to choose to do what it takes to win. And if I know that, then he has freedom to decide. Hey, we're gonna do this from pistol. We're gonna do this from gun because he can just move the back. The back, he move the back around. The offensive line doesn't care, other than the center needing to know whether or not he's going to be home that night. But the rest of it is, the offensive line. And there's certain plays, like we run zone read, it has to be from gun. We run power read, it has to be from gun. There's certain plays, and that's why we had a spread package, a base package, and a jet sweep package, which is essentially a wing tee package, but jet sweep base play. That had to be under center. The spread package was always gun because that was our zone read. That was speed option. Speed option's a great gun. That was probably one of our best plays, and that was a gun play. We did a lot of now what ended up being one of our best plays in base was quarterback running the counter, and we would do a fake toss. So he would fake the toss from gun. He would fake like a shovel to the back, which we never actually ran. But the fake was great. Or we would do a fake bubble or whatever, and then we would run the quarterback. So it was just for time. That's the timing. Instead of a counter step, that was essentially his counter step was a fake bubble or a fake toss, and then follow in behind the H-back. That worked really well from gun. But our base offense was under center, and I've always tagged it, so I've always just put pistol or gun, so I just put a P, a U, or when we would write out the calls, I would either put a P, a U, or a G in front of the call, so it would say P, Ham Pro 324, and so we would just tag it that way. Now I give the quarterback, as the quarterback learns, he gets more freedom to make that decision. But also certain things were packaged. So like our jet, we know jet sweep's under center, and we know anything that's off of the jet sweep is under center. We know speed option is from gun. There's no,
Yeah, it's a little bit harder to speedo from under center.
Well, the wing tee has that. I can't remember the name of it, but the wing tee has that where they reverse pivot and they run the dive and the motion back. But the dive, he's reverse pivoting, so he can't read the dive, right?
Right.
But he reverse pivots. The wing back is the pitch, and the quarterback comes out of it and runs speed option that way, and it's a really good play. So you can run speed option. He just gets a little more depth, but you have it's even better because you have the dive threat, right? The linebacker, the defensive line can't make the decision fast enough that the quarterback can't give that, because they run it with the quarterback giving it. It's a straight up dive, and then they run it with the fake dive and then speed option off of that. And it's a really good play. So you can do it, but you have to rest it up a little bit.
I like it. Well, I think that brings us to the end here, Joe. We've checked all the boxes for this topic and many others. It's a great in-depth podcast.
So everybody, just to be clear, no more gun. We're not doing it anymore.
Joe's outlawed the gun. He's actually changing the pistol power offense to the under center offense.
The under center offense. So look, Bill Mountjoy he will every single year. We've been running this offense for 15 years, and Bill's been watching our film for 15 years. And Bill will get our first scrimmage and tell us, you've got to cut out the gun or the pistol. You got to quit doing that. And and there are years where we are almost entirely in pistol or almost entirely in gun, and we'll hear it every single week, right? He hates it. So this is me
So
getting to Bill's age.
that's right.
Yeah.
We did something pretty funny this year. Like I said, we changed the team from FlexBone to a modern offense. And so we came out. Oh man, there's one game they play that was FlexBone versus FlexBone, Pirates versus Pirates. I think their colors may have even both been purple. It was just this most random rivalry game right in the middle of the season. So we came out and ran FlexBone, like just because. And so it's like we've not shown this all year, and then here we go running a tagged up version of what we do. Getting back to like the pistol power offense, where you can run anything because of the verbiage allows that, right? It's a system, not a freaking offense. And it was just pretty hilarious to come out and be like, we can still go FlexBone versus FlexBone if we want to. And then they did not. They came out in some spread mumbo jumbo that also was hilarious and fell on its face. So it was great.
That works.
Let's do our level up, man. Let's get out of here.
We've been podcasting so much. I got to think of my level up here.
It was 2 in a week. I'll go while you're thinking of yours. So I told you all a while back, my level up was that I had, man, it's probably like maybe 6 months now or less. A very good friend of mine who had deployed with multiple times. We had a falling out way back in 2020 over COVID.
Oh yeah.
He was a nurse that was watching chaos ensue in his hospital, and I was drunk on a cruise ship and told him that COVID was fake. And since it don't matter, I don't want to get political about this at all, but we didn't talk for 4 years, and we finally bumped into each other. He'd reached out, and we had rekindled that friendship. It was really cool. But him, his wife, and another group of friends came up, and we had Friendsgiving this weekend, which was really, really neat. A great time. If you're not doing, we used to do Christmas in July. We did that for like 3 or 4 years, which was a blast. All of this started because when I got deployed once, I was going to miss all the holidays. So my wife, being the rock star she is, she put together a date in July where we ate Thanksgiving dinner. We opened presents for Christmas and played Dirty Santa. And then at midnight, we counted down to New Year's. And so we fit all the holidays in one day, which was really, really neat.
That's pretty cool.
And so we trying to carry on that. It got a little harder because we moved away and our friends all live a long ways away. And weirdly enough, taking a random day in July is kind of hard. So it was really neat to do that. We got the friends together and had a great family, which is in this time of year, we've just committed ourselves to football for 15 weeks or whatever. So that was neat. But then we also went to a hockey game. And if you've not gone to a hockey game recently,
oh, it's the best.
Oh, you should go do that. The things that I learned in the crowd, which the buddy of mine that drove up, they live down closer to Texas, so they go watch the Allen Americans all the time. And it just so happened the Allen Americans were playing the Tulsa Oilers, or whatever we're called. I think that's what they're called. And so I had to root for the home team. So I was rooting for.
Or is it?
Do what?
Is this AHL?
This is whatever the baby class is. I don't know.
I think it's AHL. Yeah.
I don't understand it. I learned the rules yesterday with Google. So
okay.
I'm not a hockey dude, but it was a blast.
Yeah.
But then I immediately was watching it be football right in front of my eyes. Like, oh, look at this thing they're doing. And here's some rugby aspects of it. And here's how it's just like soccer. And when you start looking at concepts, you start looking at sports like, damn it, we're all just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it was a blast to go listen to the crowd and all their chants. And I didn't know at hockey games, like if the away team does anything good, everyone ignores it. You just see how quiet you can get. If they score, there's no fanfare. Like, nope, no one cares. And in fact, when they announced who scored, everyone in the stadium yelled, "Nobody cares!" Like, it's a complete lack of. We're not going to give you any love at all. So
yeah,
it's a great environment. Anyway, that's my level up.
We
rekindled friendships and watched a new sport.
I love live hockey. The first time that I went was when the Thrashers were in Atlanta, and that was the first hockey game I went to. And then the Thrashers left, and I stopped watching hockey for a long time. Because they basically got there. That we got the Thrashers when I was in college, and then like they were gone 10 years later or whatever.
Right.
Atlanta's not had a lot of luck keeping hockey teams. So big Calgary Flames and who are they? They're the Jets. They're the Winnipeg Jets now. The Thrashers are. We used to have the Atlanta Flames when I was born. When I was old enough to go, they were gone. And then when I went to college, we got the Thrashers, and I went to one game, and I don't know why they left because it was packed. I mean, it was always packed. It was great. It was at Phillips, and but we have the Caps here, Washington Capitals, and we went earlier. I guess it was this year. We went. My nephew, who lives in Atlanta, had never been to a hockey game, and so he came up, and my in-laws bought really good seats. So we were like 4 rows back, and Ovi scored a goal, which is awesome. Like, this is like the greatest goal scorer of all time. Scores a goal right in front of us, celebrates along the glass right in front of us. It was just awesome. Those guys are, well, I mean, Ovechkin is not just a goal scorer. He is huge. He is absolutely he's a gigantic human. Like, the only reason he's not in the NFL is because they don't do that crap in Russia.
Right.
He's a gigantic human, like huge. I guess I will go with, I talked about all the Chicago and all that stuff. I wrote out the vision for JDFB. So I think did I talk about Vivid Vision last time?
You did a little bit, yes.
I did a little bit. Okay. I think, was that my level up last time?
I think last time it was I still owe you an email for the.
Oh, okay. That was the unique ability. Yeah.
Unique ability. Okay.
Okay. So I did the.
I've heard the word vivid vision, but I don't remember if it was on air or off air. So
a book called Vivid Vision. I think I talked about it last time, but I completed that. And so I'll use unique ability for last week and Vivid Vision for this week. It's just laying out where everything's going. I mean, so I did that, and I did our annual, I do an annual planning. So I set out like 5 goals for the coming year. And so I did that and laid them out, and it's like, you can see where things are going. So I like having that. I think it's weird because all this happens because you're running a business, you're doing business things, and you think that this is like what businesses do. But then, as I've talked about many, many times, all of these things that I do for business and all of these things that I do because that's what they teach you in entrepreneur school, you should all be doing it. Like, if you're a teacher, if you're a football coach, you should be doing it. You should be laying out your annual goals. You should be laying out your so like I did my Vivid Vision for JDFB, and now I want to sit down and do one for me, like for just like personal. I think there should be a personal, because it's essentially, what do you want your life to look like in 3 years? And if you don't think about that stuff, like if you got a coaching job and you don't have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, something, I think 5 years is too long. There's a good chance you'll be gone. Right. If your goal, the funny thing is, when my head coach took this Colonial Heights job, right, worst program in the state, and he said, this is where he had a 5-year plan. Thank God we were ahead of schedule. Right. We were way ahead of schedule. In 3 years, we were, third year, we were back-to-back winning seasons. In the 4th year, we won a playoff game. Thank God, because if we were still, we wouldn't survive. If this thing was as bad as it was for 2 years, and then the 3rd year we had a 500 season, and the 4th year we had, like you need a 3-year plan. Like 5 years, maybe it's because the world moves faster. Okay. Russia did 5-year plans, but that was Stalin. Like, that's too long. Now it's faster. We need 3-year plans. So you need a 3-year plan. You need to know where you're going. You need to know where your program's going. You need to be able to see what it looks like. Like, in your mind, you need to be able to see, like, because if you don't, you won't get there.
That's right.
You gotta have this. And that's the whole idea of Vivid Vision, is that, like, you can literally see this. You write this plan out as if it's already happened. And then you look at it, every month, every quarter, you look at it. And what are we working on? What are we working towards? Where are we going with this? And, like, I think you need that in your personal life. Like, you want a bigger house? You want, like, what do you want? What's your house going to look like? What's your family going to look like? What's your, all of that stuff. And it's not all going to happen. Like, cause it's not, doesn't work that might all happen, but usually doesn't work that way. But you got to have an idea where you're headed. That's mine.
I love it. Vivid Vision.
Good book. Short book.
I can't remember if I picked it up last time or not when you mentioned it. So now I got to look.
I had
Sweet.
one of our new clients was got on a call with our coach call with me.
Yep.
And he was like, "I love your podcast." And, he's one of those people who picked it up and started listening, recently. And he said the only problem is I'm buying a lot of books.
Yeah. Well, my Audible has grown for
Yeah.
sure, exponentially. Well, let's pay the bills. Get out of here, man. Where do we go?
JoeDanielFootball.com/system. Get the free guide to building your ultimate defensive system. You're going to find out what is a defensive system, why you need a system, what goes into that system, how to install your system, and the 5 mistakes you must avoid when installing or putting together your defensive system. So to build your ultimate defensive system, go get that free guide at JoeDanielFootball.com/system. System.
I guess I'll talk about patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. There's my little place to try to assist coaches in whatever they need. If that's graphics work, if that's, how to, whatever. I try to leave X's and O's to the guys that know it better. I know some stuff that I can help that isn't necessarily part of Joe or Kenny's system or those guys that have taught me ball. So, but there's a little bit of everything. In fact, I think it is graphics work this week is the big topic. So you can find some things there possibly that help you. Once again, you can find a tier for everything. So if you want to build your coaching packet to try to get a head coaching job or a coordinator job or something this year, there's a tier on there for you. Whatever it is you need, guys, I can help you with anything. Find me on Twitter/X at Coach Chambo. Okay. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. That's all the things, I think. What about you, sir?
JoeDanielFootball.com. Joe at JoeDanielFootball. Email. At JoeDanielFootball on everything except Twitter. Twitter or X. The only thing I don't understand about Elon Musk is changing the name of Twitter. I think he's a genius. I think he's got other.
He wanted it. It's like making it his own.
Well, then make your own. I mean, I understand. I understand he bought the list, right? What he was buying was the existing customer base, not Twitter. He was like he could have built Twitter. He could have hired a developer to make Twitter. He didn't need the software.
Right.
He needed the billion people that were on Twitter already.
Yes. You don't have to get new signups if you buy the system.
Right. And then he fired everybody who was already there. He didn't buy the company. He didn't want the company. He didn't want the software. He wanted the people. I get it.
He wanted the public forum.
He wanted the people. Yeah. And he wants to own his own racetrack. And I guess if you have that, he's got FU money. So
he does have FU.
So why not? But of all the things that he's done, that's the one I don't get. Everything else, I'm like, man, you don't have to like the guy. But he made electric cars and went to space. What the frick's your problem?
Also, it was probably more expensive to buy that giant neon sign that LA made him take down in 12 hours or whatever.
Oh.
If it had said Twitter, but it was just a big X. X marks the spot. I don't know.
Anyway, at Football Info on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yep. At Football Info. There you go. And then the podcast at the FBCP. If this is your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you've been listening for a while, this is the time to go leave reviews. We want 5-star, 5 thumbs up, whatever the ranking system is. We want the high one. If it's not, let us know why. Okay, maybe where there's a misunderstanding. And if you just hate us,
it's a you problem.
That does seem like a you problem. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.